Adam Schefter at ESPN says there's 275,000 people.
Well, that was some party in downtown Detroit. 775,000 people, shattering the NFL draft attendance record.
This is the future.
All grit.
Evolution. This is the future.
All grit.
Evolution.
All grit.
All right, good morning. Welcome to the Rise and Grind Morning Show. I'll be your host today, Will Rock. I appreciate you guys all joining us each and every single day where we are here 8 to 10 a.m. Monday through Friday, bringing you all of your Lions news, your NFL rumors, and all the goodies, headlines going on around the league. It's the year of the reckoning. That's what I read last night. It's the year of the reckoning. Today, we're going to get a little bit of action in with a little bit of recap. What happened over the weekend. I think we have a little bit of video to play today too. But primarily it's what are the other teams saying? Right? There was a couple of articles that popped out across the league, and they're recognizing a giant loss for the Detroit Lions. So they're paying attention. They're paying attention to what the Lions are doing. And if they've recognized a certain individual as a giant loss, then I think that Lions fans finally need to come to grips with the fact that maybe Brad Holmes got it right. And the players that he brought back this season were the right players. Look, injuries are it's part of the job description for NFL players. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It's not if, it's when. And when it happens, it's how severe, right? Thank goodness to start off the day in injury talk. Ennis Rakestraw, as I mentioned yesterday, either in the video or I don't remember if it was a video, one of the live streams, he suffered a chest injury. And from what I heard, it could have been a potential contusion of the chest and or a torn pec. I believe it was Adam Schefter that put it out, I don't know, sometime around 11 p.m. last night, that Ennis Rakestraw appears to his sources, have a chest contusion. That's good news. It's just bone bruises like that. They can take a while. Hopefully he's back sooner rather than later. I mean, if you remember 2 seasons ago, I think it was now. And I think I misspoke that yesterday when I said last year for C.J. Gardner-Johnson. It was 2 seasons ago that C.J. Gardner injured himself immediately in training camp. And he was back, I don't know, 4 or 5 days later. So we could see Ennis Rakestraw back pretty quick, which would be great. I don't know if you guys saw his body transformation, but Ennis Rakestraw looks pretty good this year. He looks like he's taking this offseason pretty serious. So it's a big loss right up front. I mean, obviously the depth of the DB room is good. It's great, actually. But losing a guy, second-round pick, Brad has just had the worst luck with second-round picks because, like, all of them are out this year, it seems like. You know, you've got Josh Pascal out, Levi Onwuzurike out, and his Rakestraw out. He just can't win in the second round. outside of Brian Branch and Sam Laporta. Oh, wait, it was Brian in the third. No, Brian was the second, right? Wasn't he? So, second round's tough for Brad. Maybe it's time to cash in the second round picks and just move up into the first, because Brad seems to knock it out of the park in the first round. And hell, even in the third round. I know a lot of you aren't real happy about Broderick Martin, but that's the conversation today, too. It's Bromart season. With Levi out, he might have just secured himself a spot on this roster if he actually puts the work in this year, which I'm not saying he hasn't in years past, but if he puts the work in this year, I'm expecting Broderick Martin to hopefully level up this team. So Tate Ratledge is in camp. He's a second round pick from this year, so he's winning on that one. Sam Laporta, Brian Branch, both second round. Josh Pascal's out. Levi Onwuzurike out. So out of all the years that Brad has drafted so far so good with Tate Ratledge. And I don't want to put any sort of a hex or, anything on that, because we need Tate. Good news on Tate. Give you guys a quick update. Tate Ratledge took all of the snaps over the weekend at center. All of the snaps. And what I'm hearing looks great. So much so that he is being compared to an all-pro. Let me see if I can find that, because I know I was going to talk about that this morning, too. Let's just start with that. Or maybe I didn't. Hold on. Anyway, how's everybody doing this morning? It's Monday, so you might be on your way to work. Or you could be sitting at home and having a couple lines coffee like me. Yeah, here it is. I just got to get signed in. I want to say it was Detroit Free Press or somebody that put it out. So his trainer, Tate Ratledge, his trainer, the guy that he worked with, prior to and leading up to the combine and the NFL draft, had made some remarks about Tate. So let's just kind of run through what David Burkett had written over the weekend. Matter of fact, this was yesterday at about 6 o'clock in the morning. And excuse me there. We're just going to run through the article. So anyway, how's everybody doing? Give me a thumbs up in that chat if you guys are doing good. Let me just get this lined up for us here. All right, here we go. I think I got this all set up. Let's take a look at the screen here. David Burkett. There he is. He's got a nice little tan going on. All right, he says, ready or not, here they come. The Detroit Lions rookie Tate Ratledge drawing comparisons to an all-pro and work at center, which this is great news, right? The fact that Tate has never played center in his career up until training for, I believe, the combine and the NFL draft, he was worked out by a certain individual, which his name is somewhere near the bottom. Manny Weather. Manny Weather is the guy that Tate Ratledge worked out, and he said that, we'll get to it, but he basically said that Tate's ready to pivot no matter what he needs to do. All right, so ready or not, here they come when the Detroit Lions open camp on Sunday, July 20. Coming off a franchise record of 15 wins, and with most major contributors returning on both sides of the football, they will be in the usual and somewhat unexpected position of having to rely on two rookie starters. One in the middle of each line, right? Now, obviously, Tate Ratledge and Tyleik Williams are directly across from each other at this point. They're going mano a mano, hat on hat. I think it's going to be a great competition for them throughout camp. I can't wait to hear how Tyleik's doing. But anyway, first round pick Tyleik Williams projected to play a rotational role at defensive tackle when he was drafted in April, but could be a week 1 starter now that the Lions have placed Aleem McNeil and Levi Onwuzurike on the PUP list, which we know Levi has done for the year. Aleem should be back sometime end of October, early November at the earliest. And I want to stress earliest. He may not be back until Thanksgiving, for all we know. Now, McNeil is expected to miss the first half of the season while recovering from his torn ACL. And Onwuzurike's absence obviously is more curious. The Lions placed Onwuzurike on the reserve PUP list this week, meaning he cannot take part in training camp and will miss at least the season's first 4 games. Onwuzurike made 10 starts and appeared in a career-high tying 16 games last season. So what David wrote here is wrong, right? Didn't Dan already told us that Levi is done for the year. So I don't know why he wrote that he's going to miss training camp and he's going to miss at least the first 4 games. He's done. He's cooked. It's over. His career's probably done in Detroit, but like I said the other day, I think that Brad's going to give him another shot. I really do. And I think that Onwuzurike is going to want to come back. I don't think he's going to want to go to a different team anyway. So he'll take that cap-friendly deal to come back after this whole ordeal. Then there's obviously the second-round pick, Tate Ratledge, who played only guard in college, right? Seemed destined for that position when the Lions traded up to take him with the 57th pick in April, but then the Lions used Ratledge exclusively at center in rookie minicamp. They kept him at the position when Frank Ragnow retired in June and will give him a chance to win the starting job this summer. Now, Ratledge was a right tackle in high school. He started all 3 seasons at Georgia as a right guard. And Duke Manyweather, that's the gentleman that he worked with, private offensive line coach, worked with him before the draft and said that Ratledge is well positioned to handle the pivot if that's where the Lions need him this fall, which is great news that even Manyweather could see that Ratledge is ready to go. And I firmly believe that Ratledge was going to be our right guard. Had Frank Ragnow not retired, this isn't even a story right now. But typical Lions fashion, we've got stories. And we're going to have some pivots this year. And this just happens to be one of them. Happens with every team. But the Lions seem to have their fair share. Probably more than their fair share. Now, Manyweather said that he does a full physical and mental assessment of the players that he works with during the pre-draft process, and that Ratledge profile closely resembled that of the center who ranked ahead of Ragnow on last year's All-Pro list, Kansas City Chiefs Creed Humphrey. Now, that's pretty exciting news. If Tate Ratledge is seriously heads and shoulders above where a lot of people probably thought he was, and if he ends up turning out to be that good, man, Brad Holmes hit it again. And I'm glad that I had Tate Ratledge ranked as my number 1 guard overall. I had him going to the Lions the entire day. I called it during the draft. So if Brad got it right, it makes me feel good that we're seeing the same thing. Obviously, I'm nowhere near of an evaluator that Brad is, but I'm seeing some things that make sense here. At least for the Lions. It may not be for every team. Now, they quote here, they got very similar profiles. This is from Danny Mayweather. They got very, very similar profiles in terms of how they receive information, how they process information, their communication styles, and how they like to communicate and how they like to be coached. He says, quote, I told people that even before knowing that Tate was going to make the switch to potentially playing center. It's a pretty powerful statement. So this guy has obviously been working with a lot of different offensive linemen during his, private coaching career. So I think he has a pretty good makeup of these guys. He understands who they are at their core. And offensive linemen are different. I mean, it is a different room. I don't care what team you're on. The offensive linemen they're like their own. They are their own unit, but you know what I'm saying here. They're just a different room. They're a different kind of guy. They operate differently than most other units do. They are just all business, it seems like. all business all the time. Now, Ratledge took practice snaps at Georgia's backup center last season behind New England's third-round pick, Jared Wilson. Manyweather said that, but stayed at right guard when Wilson missed time with injury. After the season, he trained at all three interior line positions in preparation for pro days and team workouts. Now, had I had that information ahead of the draft, I probably would have had Tate Ratledge up a little bit further on my board. But he ended up falling to the Lions right where I thought that they would get him anyway. Lions general manager Brad Holmes highlighted Ratledge's versatility during the draft without indicating he saw Ratledge potentially switching positions as a rookie in the NFL. Here's what Brad Holmes said. He said, quote, tough kid, great locker room guy. He's got a little bit more versatility. He rose more as the process went along because of his versatility that we were able to find out a little bit more about that. So I thought that he just would fit in just like a glove here, which so far so good. So far so good. Question about Jared Wilson. So oftentimes, Lions fans, you know this, we're whining and crying and clamoring about defensive ends and doubling down on positions like defensive end. And, you know, Brad did it with the cornerback room last year, grabbing Terry and Arnold and Ennis Rakestraw. And he has yet to really do that with any other position. But here's my question. Did Brad miss an opportunity? Because Jared Wilson was taken at, I believe, pick 60, which was the Lions' original pick. So the Lions would have had either one, Tate or Jared. The question is, do they value Jared Wilson as much as they did Tate Ratledge had they had the opportunity to only take Jared? What if Tate was already gone? But my question is this, with all of the, you know, I'm just going to call a bitching about defensive end, why didn't Brad double down here? Why didn't he move heaven and earth to get back up to pick 60, right? Or back to back, 57, 58, or take Jared Wilson at 57 and hope that Tate Ratledge was there at 60. Why didn't he move back up and double down on these positions? Jared Wilson is going to end up becoming one of the best centers in the league. Hands down, I love the dude's work. So that's my question. Would you have been upset if Brad would have done that? I mean, at the time, obviously, we don't know that Frank is going to retire, but thinking of the future, I've been saying it for 3 seasons now. Especially after 2023 when Frank Ragnow was, he was wearing it on his face, right? I mean, he was not happy. He was banged up, he was hurting bad, and he made the comment that he didn't know what he was going to do next season, being 2024. And it was right then and there that I said, okay, no matter what happens moving forward, Brad better get a center in here to get us ready. And I'm not talking a 7th round pick. I'm not talking a UDFA, right? I'm not saying someone on the International Pathway Program. No, you need to get a top 3 round center in this building today. Who cares if they play center right away as long as Frank is there, stick him at guard. And he didn't do it. And he even mentioned, to that point, it was shortly after I made that statement, he even mentioned that bringing in a center to kind of park behind Frank was not something that he was kind of interested in doing, that he would address it when it needed to be addressed. That is probably the biggest knock that I have on Brad, is that his foresight, it's really good, right? He obviously puts his team in a great position. But why are we not getting in front of some things? They talk about breeding competition. They talk about having it, be a bloodbath in camp. Well, if you have an opportunity to stack a position, why don't you do it at least in the trenches? I'm talking defensive tackles and offensive linemen. Those guys are the most important piece to your team. Without a good interior on both sides of the football, teams are going to take advantage of you. So that is the biggest question that I have. Now, if he felt that, Christian Mahogany was going to be that guy, no matter what, he was going to have an opportunity to start this season. And depending on what we're going to do with Giovanni Manu, is he going to get an opportunity to start now, at a guard position, or is he primarily going to be left tackle backing up Taylor Decker? So if that's the case, then he kind of did it with Taylor Decker. With a 3rd round pick, that's a pretty high pick to stash, right? Especially if it's an offensive line that has one of the best left tackles to ever play in the game, albeit I would say early in his career. The last few years, I wouldn't say that as much about Taylor Decker, but I think he's still one of the best to do it. So it's just an interesting thought. He does it for some positions, but he doesn't do it for the position that he feels is most important to this team, which is the offensive line. So, quote here, who said this? Brad Holmes says, I think one of the things, not only he has the physical skill set, he's got the power, he's got the bend, the agility. He's a very nimble athlete. But the thing about it is that he's incredibly instinctive too. Talking about Tyleik Williams here. So in his opinion, he says him and one other defensive tackle that was in this class were the top 2 instinctive defensive tackles in this whole class, and he was one of those guys. So I think his versatility is really, really going to help. So that was a bit of a transition there to Tyleik Williams. My apologies. I didn't mean to just throw that at you. Usually I kind of let you know what's happening. So Williams did not take part in most of the Detroit Lions on-field work this spring because of a hamstring injury he suffered at his pro day. Still with McNeil, Onwuzurike, and second-year defensive tackle Mekhi Wingo on the PUP to start camp. He should have ample opportunity to win a starting job early in the season. Like I think that there's no doubt that Tyleik Williams is the guy right now. No doubt. And it could be worse, right? I think we'll be okay. The Lions' top healthy returning interior defensive lineman DJ Reader and Pat O'Connor are best known for their run-stopping ability, and their top free agent addition at this position was nose tackle Roy Lopez. Quote, this kid's got a lot of upside. Lions assistant GM Ray Agnew said, quote, he's got a chance to be really, really good run player, and I think he's underrated as a pass rusher. Talking about Roy Lopez early in the spring. Now, like a defensive tackle, the Lions enter camp with options on their interior offensive line. So, veteran Graham Glasgow ticketed to move from left to right guard this fall, but he has starting experience at center with the Lions and Denver Broncos and could man the position if Ratledge struggles this preseason. Veteran Tristan Colon, who was signed in June, will also compete for the job too. So, Lions have options, right? A lot of options. I'm not going to go and bore you through the rest of the quote here, but the fact that, Dan Campbell and Manny Weather and Brad, and I mean, all of these guys see the opportunity and the growth perspective of Tate Ratledge becoming a really good center in the league is beneficial this early in camp. And it's beneficial this early in his career. So I think that it should give us a little bit of breath of fresh air that, one position is unsettled when we find out that Frank Ragnow retires, and now the other position is kind of unsettled, on the other side of the football because Levi Onwuzurike is done for the season, which you guys know I had high hopes for him this year. I really did. Not only did I love the contract because it was inexpensive, but I loved his work last season. And, yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. Is the press conference already on, Trace? Did I already miss it this morning? Because I was going to plan on bringing it in, but I didn't get an alert. It's over. So they must have started right at 8. Okay, well, that was part of the plan today, so we got to bring it in. If you already watched it, I apologize, but that was part of the plan this morning was to get that in. I didn't get an alert. I just thought they were late as usual. All right, let me get this rolling. Give me one sec. All right, we're going to listen to Dan Campbell here. It's about a 16-minute press conference. We'll see what he says. He doesn't look happy in that picture there, huh? All right, here we go. Dan Campbell.
I believe practice.
Yeah, it should be okay. Everything came back negative. Certainly he's sore. He'll be out a few days here just to let him recover. But structurally, everything looks pretty good.
With your offensive line, we've kind of seen you settle into a groove, maybe a starting rotation of what it might look like. Mm-hmm. How long do you want to maybe take a look at that, rotate, flip pieces? Like, how are you going about the process of determining which guys fit where?
Yeah, well, I think these first, call it 10 days, is going to tell us a lot, by the time we get to the Hall of Fame game, at least in one area of that, and then we got to make a decision there, okay? And then the competition is still open at that point, like, man, working these guards and then, who is playing center. But I think it's kind of a two-part deal. We've got an open competition, guys competing, certainly Tate at center. We're working him in there, see how fast he can get it. I know it's only day one, looked much better than even spring, so getting his feet under him. But as I've said before, we know Graham can slide right in right now, and we don't miss a beat. So, we're just going to keep playing with it, So it's kind of exciting, really, just to see these guys.
Okay, so big statement, exact statement that I said early in the spring. Off season, when we found out that Frank Ragnow was going to retire, is that Graham Glasgow is our guy. Like, no matter what, the dude can slide in at center and we're going to be just fine. I think that he played pretty well in the two spots that he had to play in 2023 when Frank Ragnow was out. His grades may not have been the best with PFF, but I think that he played fairly well given the situation and the injuries along the offensive line at that time. Graham has the most experience of anybody on this team at playing at center. And, I mean, you're talking years in the NFL, as well as his time at University of Michigan. So plenty of experience. I'm glad that Dan mentioned that this morning, that, Graham slides right in. We're good to go. We'll keep on going here.
Guys grow and watch them develop and compete, and it's pretty good. It's a good group. Hank's going to do a great job. Always does.
Just to stay with Graham for a second, he changed positions last year. Obviously, he was dealing with some health things. How much do you appreciate what he did last year, A, and then B, how big can he be for those two young interior linemen?
Yeah, he is big. The thing about Graham, he's dependable. He's a savvy vet. He's played a lot of football. He understands angles. He's smart. He knows the game. And then he'll help those guys. I think the hardest thing for Graham right now is not to do too much, as far as, like, we're trying to make sure that, hey, let Tate do it. Like right now, let him go. And so it's been, that's good. But he, like I said before, Graham gives you some comfort because we know what he can do, and he can play multiple roles.
And Kingsley, the day after Ragnow retired, what have you seen from him over this last year that kind of gives you confidence he can challenge for that role as well?
Well, there again, a lot of scout team reps, man. Him on Sunday, just watching him getting better and better and better. The way he competes, man, he's tough. He's physical. He is smart, really good athlete, man. He can move. And he knows this. So much about him is going to be the anchor, man. We put pads on, the size and those things, just being able to sit some guys down, anchor, things of that nature. But I like Kingsley. He's improved, he's improved a lot.
Yeah, yesterday David Montgomery said he called this a season or a year of reckoning. Do you agree with that? He said, we're tired of getting close and, not getting there. But do you agree with that? And does that kind of speak to an overall sense of, I don't know if you'd call it frustration from players of, you guys are having great seasons, but just aren't getting there?
Well, look, this is one of the things I talked about in the meeting the other day, and it's just, I think if we keep that type of mindset, man, we're after it. It's another year, and we're out to finish what we started. We're going to close out some of these debts. That's got to be the attitude. That's the mindset across the board. Every day in practice, no matter who we play, no matter what people think, man, we're going. And I just think it's a mindset. That's all.
And just another thing about David is just yesterday he said.
All right, the year of the reckoning, man. Expect a t-shirt later today. It'll be up. You might notice that on warriorthread.com, there is some new t-shirts up. There should be some hats up, some coffee mugs, all sorts of stuff. And I believe there's a 20 or 25% deal going on right now that they just put together. And if there's not, I'll put one together this week. Year of the reckoning, man. I love what Dan Campbell said right there. It's time to close out some of these debts. And I'm just going to say it, man. As a Lions fan for 40 years, Lions tickets, season tickets, 10 seats in the family for more than, I've been a part of it 27 years, but I mean, more than 60 years we've had tickets. Yeah, there's some debt there. That's a lot of cashola, right? I would love for you to clean out my debt too. I think that we've paid for a Super Bowl by now, and we're just one of the families, right? What about the other 60,000 plus people in the stands? A lot of debt there for 50 plus years. It's more than paid for a Super Bowl or 5. So yeah, it's time. He's damn right. It's time. It's time to close it out. It's time to punch that ticket.
He was motivated. He felt like he was kind of the forgotten man last year, being injured. I know you've talked a lot about your appreciation for his running style. Mm-hmm. Maybe that's an outside thing, but I'm sure he's not a forgotten man with you guys. And how important is he to what you guys want to do?
Yeah, believe me, he is not forgotten. We know exactly who he is, where he is, and what he's capable of. And the 1-2 punch with he and Gibbs is it's special, and it's rare in this league, in my opinion, especially nowadays. So there is a place for David. He's going to help us, and we're going to use him, and we'll use he and Gibbs together. We'll do some of those things. So we know he's one of our best offensive players. That's not changing right now.
Confused about a little bit of the timeline with Levi. Was this a thing in OTAs, or was it lingering from the season?
Yeah, I would say this is something that crept up. Once the season's done, it's kind of the normal aches and pains, things that go on after a season. Levi's been through a lot, and but then probably.
Okay, quick update on that. Nothing's changed in Detroit. Matter of fact, listening to Jahmyr Gibbs yesterday, which is also part of today's plan. I want to listen to the media availability together, if you don't mind. Otherwise, I will get some videos out today to kind of give my thoughts once again. But 2 running back sets. I think Jay-Z just said it in the chat, and he said it, 2 running back sets. This is not going away. There's no reason why it should go away. And I don't even remember the conversation that happened yesterday with David Montgomery that someone said that you've been forgotten about. Who forgot about David Montgomery? I certainly didn't. But why would anyone forget about David Montgomery? That dude is vital to this offense. He's extremely needed in this offense. It's not to say that, there's not going to be a heavier hand dealt to Jahmyr Gibbs. I think that we're kind of expecting that, because why wouldn't you feed the horse? I mean, Jahmyr Gibbs is special, very special. Why wouldn't you feed him? And again, it's not to say that David Montgomery can't have success, because he's been nothing but successful for the Detroit Lions. He's not going anywhere. And if anyone's thinking that David Montgomery's getting traded or this, that, and the other thing, that would be the stupidest thing that Brad Holmes could do. Especially given how running backs do get hurt in this league. And behind David Montgomery, you have Craig Reynolds, but let's just be real. Neither one of the backups behind David are Jahmyr or David. Craig's been good. Sione Vaki's been great in spurts, but neither one of those 2 players are anywhere near the type of special breed that David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs are. So 2 running back sets, absolutely. Absolutely.
We call it a month after he signed, month and a half, somewhere in there. Knees bothering him. We keep working through it, and it's not getting any better. And so just needed to get this done, Look, we hate it for Levi, man. I mean, you know, it's not his fault, and it's just another one of those things. But I can tell you what, his mindset is right. I mean, he's all about getting it right, improving himself, and you know, it's not easy when you got to rehab year after year after year. But no.
Dan, how have you adapted to? I mean, obviously injuries are part of the game, but just looking at it from year to year, how you run training camps, have you run things a little differently based off injuries, or what have you learned just from the process of running camps, like especially this year, with just dealing with so many injuries?
Yeah, you know, I'm with you, but you got to be careful, you know. And I go back. I know what that is. I've got a little thing on my board, man. Don't, you know, it's, you know, you can't let anything sway, you know, your identity or what you want to become, man. You can't let the fear of injury change the way you prepare. And doesn't mean you're not being smart. You're not reading the data. Is there something we need to, and so no, I'm not changing much. We're going to do things very much like we've done for the last 4 years, because it's led to success for us, and we play a certain style of football, and we got to keep that. It's not easy to do, but you have to do that.
Dan, I wanted to ask you about
Okay, I really don't understand this question. I mean, I understand the question, but I don't understand. I got to get out of this for a minute. Hold on. This irks me. So the question is, you know, Dan, what have you learned running camps and injuries? And, you know, and like Dan's saying, he gets it. And I got to say that Dan looks pissed off this morning. He does not look like his normal jovial self, ready to attack the day. I'm sure he's ready to attack the day, but he looks pissed about something. Something is not making him very happy today. And I hate to speculate, but is this an Alex Anzalone thing? Is there something happening in the background that we don't know about? He looks upset, and maybe that's just me. You guys let me know in the chat. Do you think he looks upset? I think he looks upset. And that's not a bad thing to have your coach pissed off about something, right? I just think it's going to be a good day for the guys on the field. All right, so now back to the reason why I came out of the video is the question is asked, Dan, what have you learned about running camps and injuries? And, you know, like Dan said, I understand the question. I understand where you're going here, that I'm working the guys too hard, because someone printed that the other day, or someone said that the other day in a video, something. I think it was printed, that Dan is working these guys too hard, that they're practicing too hard. It may have been in comments of this video, this show, yesterday or Friday. And I think his answer is spot on. Look, if you're going to go out there and practice like a bunch of sissies, right? Well, I had to catch myself there. If you're going to go and practice like a bunch of sissies, what do you think's going to happen on the other end? This is the hardest part of camp, is the first week. And the reason why is it's very simple. The reason why these guys are soft right now, and I don't mean that from a strength perspective, right? I mean that from look, they just had an off season and they've been hitting the weights, right? They've been doing their running, right? They all crushed the conditioning test, like Dan said, but it's deeper than that. When you get into the first couple of weeks of camp, any of you that played football in high school, or some of you that were lucky to play in college, you know that two-a-days, I mean, when I played, we had two-a-days, and that sucked. But the first few days, you went home and you're like, oh my God, I can't move, right? Everywhere you touch is just bruised and sore, and your body has not worked those muscles in a long time. Even a couple of months of sitting around, trust me, I know, been there, done that with a few injuries. Your body gets weak, it gets sore, and it gets soft. The minute you put some pads on, you start hitting, now you're starting to get back into football shape. You got to harden that shell. And if you don't harden that shell, things like chest contusions happen, right? Ennis Rakestraw hasn't been taking enough hits. And maybe he got hit too hard. I don't know. Maybe Dan's letting the guys fly a little bit too fast. Maybe someone just wanted to lay into him. I don't know. I don't even know how the injury happened. But the point that I'm trying to make is your body is soft to enter camp. It's not like you're out there running into a brick wall with pads on to try to strengthen yourself. It's not like you're working out with a bunch of friends in pads. I don't know who would want to line up from an NFL player other than other NFL player and start smashing into each other. It just doesn't happen in the offseason. The guys are training, doing everything, but their bodies get soft. So I think that injuries are part of the game. It's going to happen, and I'm glad that Dan Campbell's not going to change a damn thing, because this is why we are able to what he said in one of the very first meetings on Hard Knocks. We're going to drag you into the deep water. And before you know it, right, we're the last ones standing. They're the ones that are going to be able to tread the deepest because everybody else is soft. Right? The one ass cheek and three toes, he doesn't care. Right. It's because we're not soft. The reason why we win 15 games on the backs of backups is because we weren't soft. So what a dumb question. I'm sorry. And whoever it is, I'm not attacking you. I don't even know who asked the question, but I think it's just a dumb question to question Dan Campbell on how to run a camp.
Things about Hendon Hooker. First, I'm just wondering, have you...
About who, I'm sorry?
Hendon Hooker.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering if you've recently kept in contact at all with Teddy Bridgewater. And then the other part is, what are you looking to see from Hendon over the course of the next 10 days to keep him maybe in line, in favor with the coaching staff?
Teddy and I, we talk all the time. I mean, not all the time, but we communicate back and forth. I mean, I've known Teddy a long time. So yeah, that's on a personal level. I mean, he's somebody I got a lot of respect for, and so just as a human being, I'm going to talk to Teddy. If that's okay with you. All right. As far as Hooker, look, Hooker knows the deal, man. This is no different. You're out here to compete, and we gave him some things to do while he was home, talking about working on a little bit of the urgency, the footwork, certainly continue training. And look, it's only one day, but man, I liked what I saw out there yesterday, man. There's an urgency. I thought his footwork was on. I thought he was spitting the plays out. But there again, that's day one. And, but he knows what it is, He knows it's time to take the next step. And so it's his move, And I think he's wired right, and it means something to him. And so here we go, man. It's open camp.
Dan, your 6th-round pick, and obviously, you haven't seen a lot of him, but what do you think about what you have?
Okay. Hendon Hooker. Dan Campbell says he knows what it is, man. He said exactly that, too. He knows what it is. He's got to put the game together. He needs some urgency. The footwork has to be better. It's not just escaping the pocket and running, but he's got to quit patting that football. And that's what he's been doing. So what Dan said in the first day of really these guys getting together, doing their thing yesterday, it's looking better. So that's good news that Hendon Hooker's looking better. But you guys have heard me say it before. I wanted Hendon. He was my pick. He was my pick before that draft. It was all written on the Rockhound Podcast Network when that site was up. And I still have the receipts. So I'm glad we took him. But I'm kind of shying away from him. If Jared Goff goes down, I'm not so sure that Hendon Hooker's the plan right now. Right? He's taking some time to develop. And that was expected coming out of that funky offense out of Tennessee. So we'll see where it goes, but maybe this is the year that it clicks, right? Maybe it clicks for Hendon, maybe it clicks for Broderick, and we get some of these guys from that draft doing some better things this year. So I'm glad that he's at least recognizing that Hendon looked better. That's good.
Have seen maybe some assets he has.
Well, he's a guy that it means something to. He's got a lot of intensity to him. He wants to learn. He's an open book right now, man. He wants to know it all. He's like a sponge. He's taking it all in. Tries to do exactly what you tell him to do, and he's high motor, man. He goes all out. It doesn't matter what the drill is. And so I think the trick there is in walkthroughs backing him down just a tick. But I like him. We like him. I mean, he's wired right. It's one of the reasons we draft him. So there's something to work with here. We'll see how fast he can develop.
Veteran view, last three adjusting, Reiner, Kobe.
there are these veterans you add to a roster.
Okay, so Ahmed Hassanin. Look, are we surprised? Come on, Corey told us how many times that Ahmed Hassanin was the guy. Like he's got this motor that's relentless. You're going to have a guy that's going all out no matter what. Dan Campbell's now saying he's got to wind this guy back a little bit. He's got to unwind that string because no matter what, like you said, no matter what the drill is, he's gone. He's going full tilt. So I get it. Sometimes you got to wind the guy back a little bit. So at one, he doesn't hurt himself or somebody else, but I'm glad that we got the right guy, man. I with all the conversations that I had with Corey behind the scenes that I'll never share, you guys should be extremely excited about who Ahmed is as a person, right? As a human, the adversity that he's faced, some of the things that he's gone through, and how all of that is now culminated into an opportunity with one of the best teams in the NFL. And look, we got the best Egyptian football player ever, right? We got the only one, but we got the best one so far. And I think sky's the limit for this kid. Whether it all clicks in year one or not, don't be mad at the guy if he has some mistakes. Same thing that I said about Terry and Arnold last year to begin the season. I said he's going to have mistakes. He's going to have PIs. He's going to have that stuff. So what? He's a rookie. It's going to happen, right? It's what you do when you come back on the field. How you correct it. And what from Dan just said, he tries to do exactly what we tell him to do. So that means when Ahmed has a mistake, he gets corrected, he's now going to correct it. Corey said this definitively, Ahmed doesn't make the same mistake twice. And that is a talent that is very hard to come by for any of us. I've made the same mistake more than twice many times in my life. But I've finally learned from it at some point.
In kind of the in-between stage of late off season and started training camp last year, guys like Kyle Pecco or Benjamin. This year, Zach Cunningham. We see him out there, filling Alex's spot yesterday, making some plays. What can Zach bring to this roster? What does he need to do to, maybe take it beyond camp?
He knows he's got a great opportunity. I mean, this is, whatever you can do here, man, it's up to you. Whether you can help us on defense or even special teams. He's out there working with us on punt team, and he'll be on all these units too. So, played football. He's played in this league. He's a very good athlete. He's pretty instinctive, smart guy. So he's fluid, man. Sometimes it's effortless. He's a fluid mover. We do so much stuff in the pass game because it's really all you can do in the spring, but just some of his cover skills, cover ability, watching him match a couple of routes he had on Laporta that did a pretty good job in the spring. So there's an element that he brings, an athletic element that we like, So we're intrigued. We're intrigued, and he knows this is a great opportunity for him. So we'll see.
You guys ran a lot of tempo, I guess, in practice yesterday. How much does your four-down or offense play into that? I mean, the idea that sustaining possession is kind of essential to be able to run tempo and balance, obviously, the effect on your own defense.
Before we hear Dan Campbell's answer, I've got to say this. When you hear the questions from these guys, which I'm glad they're a little bit more mic'd up finally. I think that the Lions PRs finally started to get some of this stuff right. I hope that it continues throughout the season. But very simply, you can tell the narratives that these guys are about to write. You can tell the narratives that they're involved in by the questions that they ask. At some point, I think the Lions would do themselves a very big favor, and they would open up a line of questioning and send some questions in from the fans. And that those questions get read. They throw it up on the screen, just like we could do here. And you give us our answer, right? They're going to filter through the questions. Undoubtedly, they will. But I think that that's an element that no other team is doing. Now, independent media like myself has been allowed in other teams. The Seattle Seahawks have independent journalists allowed in the room. And so do other teams. The Lions so far have not allowed it. right? They're sticking with. I mean, Justin Rogers is about the only one because he's been there for years, right? He earned his opportunity. But independent media, I mean, they're allowed. I can go to Washington right now, and I could go sit in in with the president and whatever her name is, right? I could go down to Washington as independent journalist and get a media credential, but I can't even. So far, I haven't received one for the Lions. But other teams around the NFL are recognizing that there's way more, people in this business that understand things a little bit better than some of the product pukers out there that are currently writing. So anyway, just wanted to say that.
In that sense, I mean,
Well, when you say tempo, what do you mean? Are you
running kind of fast-paced plays, I guess, and trying to keep the defense off balance?
Yeah. Well, I think you always want to have a little tempo in there. We don't have a ton right now. That's why when I was asking you, I think we try to push the tempo in and out of the huddle and then getting in the next play, things like that. But I think any good offense wants to change up, the way they do things, change their tempo. I think the nature of the way that we go about what we call, how we call it, when we call it, and the tempo, yeah, 4 downs can play into that, but that's not always the case. You're just trying to put stress on each other. So much about camp is trying to test each other. You're trying to find the holes in your defense, and they're trying to exploit you offensively, vice versa. Special teams would do the same thing because the more we can do that every day, the better we get the next day. You got to solve problems. You got to solve them fast. And so it's actually a good thing. It looks awful out there when it happens to one of the units, but it's like one of the best things that can happen because now you got to fix it so that by the time you get to the season, you fix 20 of these things on both sides of the ball.
So you walking out onto the practice field with DJ Reader. Yesterday we were talking about Graham being a veteran presence on the O-line, but whenever you have a defensive line that you're looking for answers there, how valuable is it to have a veteran presence like him, especially in a camp this year?
Yes. He's just like for sore eyes. He's a big man. I had a good year coming off of that quad, and he looks good. He's in shape, and he does, man. He just brings you there is comfort to what he is and what he's able to do for us. He's a steady force, and he can play the nose, he can play the 3, he gives you flexibility, and there was a couple of reps just yesterday watching him take on a couple of these double teams and hold the line, hold the point, make a play, free up the back. It's just, he does a lot of that dirty work that can go unseen, and yes, thank God we got him.
Is Alex practicing today, and do you have a timetable?
I don't see him practicing today. I don't. It's a hamstring, so we'll see where it goes. I don't see. We'll see him practicing today. Yes, thank God we got him.
Is Alex practicing today, and do you have a timetable?
He does a lot of that dirty work.
I'm trying to hear this
that
question.
Can go unseen, and yes, thank
about
God
who's
we
not
got
practicing with a hamstring.
Is Alex practicing today, and do you have a timetable?
I don't see him practicing today. I don't. It's a hamstring, so we'll.
Okay, so hold on here. Did they say Alex Anzalone there? Is that the question? It sounded like what's his name? John Macaroon. I couldn't understand the question. It sounded like he was talking way too fast. Okay, so if that was an Alex Anzalone question, so I'm going to get into some of the collusion stuff here in a little bit. Probably after this, we'll talk about it. I'll just say it right now. Hold on a sec. Okay, I did, and I'm still doing research. I plan on doing it this past weekend, but I got really busy and did a couple of shows, a lot of videos, so just time ran out. But this whole collusion thing is just huge. And one of the injuries that they mentioned when the NFLPA, I want to say his name was J.C. Treader, said that, hey, look, if our players don't like their contract and if they don't like the team that they're on, they're just going to fake a hamstring injury because they don't want to play for you. They want a new contract. Apparently, Alex has a hamstring injury now. He didn't have it before. Matter of fact, he was just running on a video about a week and a half ago. So it's the mythical hamstring injury, right? So the other day when Dan was asked about a hold-in, potential, he said, I don't believe in that. I don't believe in that stuff. No way. you know, and he's saying like, there's no way Alex is going to hold in. The hell he's not. He's holding in right now with a hamstring injury. You know why that they do the hamstring above all else? I'll give you a second to answer it in the chat. Why do you think, and I'm going to kill these ads because Trickster said he was getting killed. Let me do that real quick. Why do you think that they do the hamstring over any other injury? If you know enough about injuries, which a lot of us do, we understand injuries. Why do you think that they would do a hamstring versus any other one so that they could say that they're injured and not have to practice? Give me 1 second. I have to open up another YouTube so I can get into the back end here. I'm going to dial ads all the way back. I think you guys were doing a good job on getting those likes up. We're got about 110 people in, about 50 likes. Come on, let's push that thing up. We try to get to 75 before 8:30 so that we can get ads kicked off. That's the deal that I've made with you guys, is if you just get the likes up as soon as you get in, press it. It takes 2 seconds. It helps us with YouTube. It helps our channel grow. Obviously, we really need you guys to subscribe if you can. Would help us out a ton. Do it before or after the show. Do it right now while you have a moment. But when you get the likes up to 75, we kill the ads for you guys immediately. And I've said this many times. It costs us over $6,000 a year, depending on how many people we're getting in. But it's over $6,000 a year that I'm not putting into the Rockhound Cancer Foundation through ad revenue from YouTube. And like, it doesn't go to my pocket. We try to help others, right? And I can't wait till we get that fund to enough to where we're going to be able to just have this amazing video documentary of helping out an amazing family. It's going to be fun. So anyway, that's our goal with that. It's to keep crushing it. I dialed them all the way back. So here's the answer. Here's the answer. The reason why you do a soft tissue injury. Oh, there it is. Big Papa said it. Hamstring injuries are not visible on MRIs. Right. And that's the way of saying, and Bobby May got it too. He says, because it can go away in minutes. Money can make it go away. It's exactly right. Both of those answers, you push them together. It's the way of saying, look, you can't see a hamstring injury on any X-ray, MRI, CT scan, unless it's torn, right? Unless you've got a rip, a tear. That's extremely rare. But if it, you could have some muscle knots. My hamstrings, I actually have muscle knots in my hamstrings from all the surgeries and stuff that I've been through. And I need to get that worked out. But anyway, that's besides the point. You could feel, if there's something going on with some knots after some cramps. But if you just have a overstretched hamstring and it's sore and you can't run now, you can't see that. That's why the number one, issue I look for now in training camp is how many hamstring injuries are there? And then watch and see how many hamstring injuries get new contracts. I want someone to do that research. I'm not going to waste my time, but I am going to reach out to Pablo Torre if I can through his channel and say, why don't you research the hamstring dilemma here and go see how many of those guys got new deals. The simple fact that they mentioned it in this collusion case, that hamstring issues are what they're going to fake. Alex has a hamstring. So we officially have, allegedly, a hold-in situation if Alex is not injured, right? If he's not injured. So, and we don't know, and I'm not going to say that that's true. I'm just saying that would end up being the case. But we'll never know, because one of these days he's going to be cleared and he'll be ready to practice, and he's probably signed a contract. So it'll be interesting to see how that unfolds. All right, we'll finish this out.
I don't see Muhammad. We may try to get him moving today. We'll see how he feels. I think Pitt will be back. So, and then Rake we already talked about.
Appreciate it.
Okay, thanks.
I guess we were closer to the end than I thought. Okay, overall thoughts. Wow, they had their thank you for watching for like It's like 5 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes. Yeah, like 3.5 minutes. They have that ending going. Not sure why. So, number one question I really got to ask you guys, which is not related to any of this, is I've been toying with thumbnails. Okay, so YouTube has changed some things and did a little research with some masterminds on thumbnails. The thumbnail that you see today is probably what I'm going to continue with for the morning show. It's just labeled training camp updates because that's what we're talking about right now. We're in training camp. Underneath it, kind of either what the day is going to be or, just kind of gives you a glimpse of something we're going to talk about. So is it good? Do you like it? Does it work? Is it recognizable? And then the other one are for the videos, which have been big and bold, right? Try to capture your attention. Look, I can't put everything on a thumbnail that is going to explain what the video is. Just know we don't do clickbait, right? We're going to get into the topic of discussion. It's kind of hard to put it in the title. If you understand the way that YouTube works, there's some very specific things that you need to do that YouTube wants you to do. Like my title today is totally against the rules. Just so you know, totally against the rules. When you have enough viewership, subscribership, and people with notifications turned on, then none of that really matters, but it still matters. You could have a million subscribers and not hit the marks that you need to hit. So anyway, enough of that. By the way, if you're a new subscriber and you have notifications turned on, you will be the first to be notified of all of the giveaways that we're doing. So we did hit a giveaway milestone. It's new subscribership. Every 100 new subscribers we get, we're going to be giving away a training camp jacket. And then tonight, I'm going to do our first giveaway of training camp tickets and the training camp jacket tonight to whoever wins. And the only way I know that is by the new subscribership. My bot is supposed to help me out. It's supposed to do it automatically so I don't have to pick somebody, and it picks directly from the chat. So you have to get into the chat, you have to put a comment in, and it knows you're there. And once it knows you're there, it can then do its thing. So I tell it to wait about 35 minutes, and then it'll pick somebody. So that's how it works, and that'll be tonight. We'll probably start at 7 o'clock. So that's your 9 a.m. update. I was supposed to take my heart out, but we just stayed in. Okay, so what are your thoughts on Dan Campbell today? One, I think he's a little bit pissed, right? And so now I'm wondering if it is Alex Anzalone. I mentioned that earlier, but now we're hearing that Alex has a hamstring. That could be it. That could be what's bothering him. He looks irritated, like Trey said, or frustrated. My words, I think he looks pissed. He looks angry at something. Maybe it's just he's in his football mind. He's got his 6 cups of coffee in him already or whatever it is, and he's ready to go, 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 go. And doesn't want to deal with the media today. Overall, I think that Dan's going to get this team ready to go. I don't understand all of the BS questions, and in the narratives that are being shaped. And I think that also probably ticks off these guys. You kind of heard it in yesterday's media availability. Like they're just not going to pay attention to the BS anymore. And they shouldn't anyway. But more importantly, I'm glad that they've said one thing together. And that is there is no more time left on the clock. There is no more building. We are not rebuilding anymore. I said it would take 4 years. It would take 4 drafts. And by then, you should be able to have a good enough team to win a Super Bowl. We are now into year 5. This has to happen. Obviously, the team has to stay healthy. If the team isn't healthy, you're unlikely to win. I don't care how good the team is. Last year was the exception, not the rule. 100, injuries, man, it seemed like. Every week, it was just somebody new. Or 2 or 3 or 4 guys. It wasn't going to happen. But I'm done stomping on that horse, right? I mean, it's done. It's over. This is a new season. I'm not going to worry about the past anymore. I'm not going to make excuses for last year anymore in 2025. And neither is Dan and neither is this team. They have recognized, like Dan said, there are some debts to clean up. It's time to clean up your credit profile with the Lions fans. It's time to clean up that credit profile within the NFL. You don't have a Super Bowl. It is time. And this has to be the season. So, against all odds, by any means necessary, it has to get done. And so last night I asked a couple of questions, or yesterday I asked a couple of questions to you guys. Did I just see a new member pop in? Hold on. Hold the phone. Trickster. Hey, Trickster, what's happening, man? He just joined the loyalty crew, man. I appreciate you. Let me get you dialed up. I don't know if you've been in enough to see these. I don't know how long you've been watching the show, but let us know, man. How long have you been in? I know we've communicated on Twitter a little bit. Let me know how long you've been hanging out with us over the last couple years. Let's get you dialed up with the JMO. I think you're probably a JMO fan. Let's get you dialed up with the JMO. And I know I got to redo these. I'll get some new ones. Here we go. Welcome, Trickster, to the loyalty crew, man. Appreciate you for becoming a member today.
Looks, throws. It is complete. There goes JMO right side. He's got the angle to the end zone. 25-20, 15-10, 5, end zone. Touchdown, Detroit Lions. JMO flies into the end zone, and the Lions extend their lead.
All right. Thank you, Trickster, for joining the loyalty crew, man. Super appreciate it. So yesterday I asked a few questions, and I guess today is kind of more the same. Do we have enough to win? Do the Lions have enough to win? I think we have enough depth to bring us through anything that we need to go through, just like we did last season. But did Brad miss out on an opportunity, like I asked you this morning? Did Brad miss out on an opportunity? Let's just do that right now. Let me get into this back end here so I can do some polls. Did Brad miss a big opportunity at addressing this offensive line in this year's draft? He brought in Tate Ratledge. My question is, should Brad let's see if my fingers work today. Should Brad Holmes have taken a center and a guard in the 2025 draft in the second round? I know we brought in Miles Frazier, and look, he was like my fourth or fifth highest rated guard in the draft, and I think that he's going to turn out to be a pretty damn good football player. But when Jared Wilson and Tate Ratledge are both staring at you in round 2, we've wasted some picks, right, to go up and get guys. We've wasted some picks in trades. Why wouldn't he? I mean, he wasted a couple of third-round picks to go up and get Isaac Tesla. He could have done the same thing to move up to grab Jared Wilson, too. And then he would have had a bona fide center and a guard that have played together. So you know the question. You know the frame of the question. And that's today's first poll. Yes or no? Should it have been Jared Wilson and Tate Ratledge in round 2? Now, Isaac Tesla, we have no idea what he's going to end up being. He could be the next Tim Patrick. Tim Patrick looked great, by the way. Let's bring in some highlights from the weekend. Now, this is a very short clip. I do not have the main clip yet. But this is a very short clip of the highlights over the weekend. Just make sure it's sized right here. It's going to look a little bit funny, but it is what it is. Solo mission today. There you go. Tim Patrick right there. Craig. DJ Reed. Kirby. You notice how they're all wearing the Guardian caps this year. There's Amit. Like Derek Barnes. Jack. A good little clip. Now I know there's some other clips out there. I just haven't got my hands on them yet. All right, so far on the poll, it's a 67% no. We've got about 15 votes. Let's get that up to like 50 votes. 67% are saying no, that Brad did the right thing so far in this year's draft by not addressing the offensive line with 2 picks in the second round. So I would assume that you're expecting that Miles Frazier is going to turn out, and I think that he will too. I think that it could take him a little bit, but we'll see. So like I said, I wanted to talk a little bit about the J.C. Tretter, the NFLPA. I'm just going to make a quick comment because tonight I'm hoping to have the majority of my research done, and I want to talk about it a little bit further. But this has been very interesting. So J.C. Tretter has resigned from his position, and he was considered to be the NFLPA's interim executive director because the executive director... what is his name? Why do I forget his name? Where's it at? Howell. Lloyd Howell has also resigned. So the NFLPA is coming under, some pretty strict scrutiny here, or stiff scrutiny for the handling of the way the NFL has swept these things underneath the rug and the communication between the NFLPA and the NFL over guaranteed contracts and how that has affected players over the last many seasons. Here's the statement by Tretter. He says, over the last couple of days, it has gotten very, very hard for my family, and that's something that I can't deal with. So the short bullet points are: 1, I have no interest in being the executive director. 2, I have no interest in being considered. 3, I have let the executive committee know that. 4, I am also going to leave the NFLPA in the coming days because I don't have anything left to give to the organization. So he's obviously completely burned out. Now, whether he's right, wrong, or indifferent, this guy is 34 years old. He's been a part of the NFLPA now for at least 4 or 5 years. He was in this role, this most recent role of NFLPA Chief Strategy Officer since October of last year, so not even a full year. He was the player president from 20 to 24, and then as we know, last season, it was Jalen Reeves-Maybin that was installed as the player president and reportedly was a candidate to serve as the interim. Trotter was reported to be the interim executive director. Now, there was some pretty harsh comments by former NFL players. Former linebacker Will Compton posted on X on Sunday. He said, "We've got to be the dumbest union in all of sports." He says, "Let's vote for the guy who was in charge of hiring Lloyd Howell. Let's vote for the guy who swept a lot of shit under the rug when NFL owners were colluding to not give out guaranteed contracts. The NFLPA is constantly outmatched, and it's truly our own doing." Now, Ben Watson, former NFLPA executive committee member, said, quote, "They would be wise to remove Tretter as well," which obviously he then went ahead and removed himself. Now, Tretter was the NFLPA's player president, like I said, in 2023 when Howell was elected as the union's executive director. Tretter presided over a vote that changed the NFLPA's constitution to make the search and election process more confidential. He led the 16-month search process that resulted in Howell, whose leadership has now come under question in recent weeks for reports from the Pablo Torre Finds Out podcast, which I think that was Jay Cruzin that let us know that was going down. So, or whoever did, I appreciate you for bringing this to our attention the other day. Now, there's some controversial confidentiality agreements that I guess were between the NFL and the NFLPA and Howell's strip club expenses. Interesting. Hope he's not on the Epstein list. Now, in 2022, the NFLPA sued. That was supposed to be a funny, but there's nothing funny about that kind of stuff, honestly. In 2022, the NFLPA sued the owners, alleging that they were colluding to prevent guaranteed contracts. Now, in 2023, the NFL sued the union over Tretter's comments that suggested that running backs who were unhappy with their contracts, get this, could fake injuries. A violation of the collective bargaining agreement. Both grievances were decided last year. And both decisions were not shared publicly by either the NFL or the NFLPA. Now, ESPN has reported that the NFLPA and the NFL had a confidentiality agreement for the collusion grievance that hid the information within the 61-page decision. Pretty damning stuff against the NFL and the NFLPA. And you remember how I said when this first popped, I said Jalen Reeves-Maben was the president last year, still is. What if he's involved? And if there was something boiling, and obviously the Lions catch wind of it because they have Roger Goodell on speed dial, is that why Jalen Reeves-Maben is no longer a Detroit Lion? Makes you wonder, and I'm not saying that Jalen did anything wrong, but I'm just saying having him involved in any of that stuff, on the surface, the optics don't look great. So for the Lions, they would probably be like, yeah, I'd rather save a couple $1,000,000 and just not have to go through that whole optics of the thing, right? And I would agree. Here's another question. Is Jalen Reeves-Maben even on another team right now? I don't think he is. Has he been picked up? I think he's still a free agent. So that's interesting information too, that he hasn't been picked up. Now, did I miss something in the chat? Oh, Carol Besh, why do I have a crown? Yeah, you're the number one chatter this morning. You're the number one fan this morning. I think that's how it works. Honestly, I still don't know. I think you guys told me and I've already forgot. So anyway, in 2022, this whole collusion thing that is going on, I mentioned this in 23 when I first got started. And I said that, it just didn't seem right that it was 21, 22-ish, somewhere in that range, that a lot of running backs were not getting deals. There was a ton of running backs on the free agency market with a lot of big names, and they weren't getting picked up. And it was like all of them were getting stonewalled by teams. But it was almost like there was an agreement. This is what I thought back then, that there was almost like an agreement between the teams that nobody signs anyone, that we're not going to go after this player, but no one's going to sign him right now. We're just going to let them sweat it out so that they sign cheaper deals. That's kind of what happened. So in an interview with CBS Sports, Tretter denied having access to the collusion grievance. So this is big information. Or being involved in the agreement struck by the union and the league to keep those findings confidential. Now, whether or not that's true, I'm sure we'll find out in whatever happens next. Maybe Tretter is innocent, of a majority of things, but the fact that, a lot of crap has gone on. I mean, look, I'm in the players' favor. I want to see the players treated well and get everything that they deserve, because they put a lot on the line. And we know in the NFL, man, it's not for long. I mean, players typically don't even last 3 seasons. And when you look at the grand scheme of how much money that they can make in 3 seasons and what they're going to do to their body, it's not a lot of money, especially if you're drafted in the later rounds. It is not. I mean, it's a lot of money comparatively to what you would make at maybe your first job after wasting $100,000 or more on getting a 4-year degree, but it seems like today's average salary is about $65,000, and that's high. So these guys are making some good money. I think the minimum salary in the NFL is close to $700K, but it's still not a lot of money because a lot of it's not guaranteed. So if you're not there for the long term, you're not going to make a ton of money. And then whatever happens to your body after that, let's just hope you don't have to do anything physical. I found this interesting, but I've decided I'm not going to talk about it. So there was another article right after this, and it had to do with the Commanders and the Washington Commanders name and the Cleveland baseball team's name. I'm just not going to talk about it because I don't want to go political today. Like I don't want it to even go that direction. We do a really good job of not making this podcast political at all. A lot of people in the comments don't go political either. That was very hard to do in the beginning, but you guys have done a great job with it. I think it keeps everybody calm, right? It's a very tragic situation in our country with politics, but it's I'm just glad in here we can be politic free. So I'm going to use my better judgment. Let's just put it that way. So up next, let's look around the league for a moment. Let's do our NFC North report. And I found this interesting, talking about the Lions injuries. And the biggest one, which is Levi Onwuzurike. Now, a lot of Lions fans, I always say a certain faction of Lions fans, and I refer to them as SOL fans because they felt that Levi Onwuzurike was not a good option for the Lions. They thought that, Brad Holmes was making a big mistake. Now, if he's got a new injury, he's got a new injury. There's nothing you can do about that. It's the same thing like with Marcus Davenport or anybody else. An injury is an injury is an injury. But what Levi did last year and what he was expected to do when he was drafted, Brad hit the nail on the head. He knew exactly what Levi could be. And he showed us that last year in spurts. So much so that he was a top 16 defensive tackle in pressure rate throughout the season. And that was without Aiden, right? And that was without Davenport. And that was without Ali McNeil. That was without a lot of players. Alex Anzalone and Derek Barnes and others. He was able to do that, with 1/3 of the defense that was still intact, which was largely the defensive back room. That's pretty impressive. So much so that the Packers wrote about it and said that the Green Bay Packers will enter the 2025 campaign tied with the Dallas Cowboys, Minnesota Vikings for the 5th toughest strength of schedule in the NFL based on last year's regular season records. But the headline was the Packers just got a massive week 1 break, and Lions fans won't love it. And it's a picture of, here, I'll just throw it up on the screen real quick. It's a picture of none other, your boy, Levi Onwuzurike. So here, let me try to fit all this back in again. Sorry, try not to do this one so you guys can see it. All right, there we go. I think we're put back together now. At least good enough. So Packers got a massive week 1 break, and the Lions fans won't love it. Lombardi Ave wrote this. Obviously, Levi Onwuzurike in that game, both games last year, was a menace for the Packers. So one of the biggest reasons all 4 NFC teams are ranked among the top 5, of course, is the division was one of the toughest in all of football last season. Now, Green Bay was swept by Detroit a season ago, taking a 24-14 loss in Week 9 and a 34-31 defeat in Week 14. Make this a little bigger here. But moving down here, it says the Lions already ruled out a key starter in Levi Onwuzurike for Week 1 game versus the Packers. One of the most significant setbacks that Detroit is dealing with involves defensive tackle Levi Onwuzurike, who was placed on the reserve physical unable to perform list, otherwise known as PUP. meaning he will miss at least the first 4 games of the regular season. But as we know, he is done for the year. Now, the details of the injury, according to them, was not disclosed, but it from what I understand, it's an ACL. Right? It was an ACL. Is that what we heard, right? So he was a 2021 second-round selection, had a solid bounce-back season in 2024. So even they're recognizing that Levi had a solid bounce-back year last year. So for all the Lions fans that are saying this was a stupid pickup for Brad Holmes, bringing this guy back in free agency, I mean, even the Packers are saying it was a good year for him. 28 tackles, 16 appearances. Onwuzurike arguably had his best game of the year against the Packers in Week 9. He had a season best 4 tackles and a stuff. So one would assume that the Packers won't mind seeing him on the sidelines come Week 1. So when our opponents are taking a look at what's going on in our camp and they're writing about it already, I mean, I'm glad that we live rent-free in their head because the Packers suck, right? But this just tells you what they think about our team. They think that we have a pretty good team. Now, obviously, his status, talking about Onwuzurike, was undoubtedly disappointing for Detroit, but also fellow left defensive tackle Lee McNeil and Mekhi Wingo also placed on the PUP list. So it's interesting, right, to see other teams talking about us this early, which I love. I love living rent-free in people's heads. I love it. I'm glad that we're able to do that finally as an organization. Now, I want to take it one step further and let's talk about the Bears. So the Lions were also not the only team in the opening weekend here for camps to suffer some injuries. There was another team that lost somebody right away. Now, this also might have collusion written all over it because Jalen Johnson of the Chicago Bears apparently is on the, take a look at the screen, active non-football injury list. Huh. This was as of July 19, and I'm just now catching this last night. I know, a day late, $1 short. But the Bears corner, as it says right here, Mike, I don't need you up. Thank you. The Bears corner, Jalen Johnson, will begin training camp on the NFI list. Now, he's one of 4 players to get that designation. He and the backup quarterback, Case Keenum, who was actually released last night off of the NFI list, not released from the team, but he is now cleared. Running back Ian Wheeler and wide receiver Jade Walker, they can all return once they pass their physical. Now, as I understand it, this is not a physical situation for Jalen Johnson. So Johnson earned a second consecutive Pro Bowl last season, and he made 2 interceptions, 8 pass breakups, and a forced fumble. Injury is undisclosed. Why is that? Well, I think it has to do with something else that was reported, which is this. Let me pull this up for you. Now, we heard a lot about the collusion, right? And what the NFLPA and J.C. Treader were going through. But I think that there's something bigger. Take a look at the screen. There's something bigger, like the headline says for the Chicago Bears. Bigger cornerback deals have Jalen Johnson saying he'd like more. Now, the market for cornerbacks show that the Bears signed a good extension with Jalen Johnson in the March of 2024. I can't believe that he's already running his mouth. Look, every year, the number is going to reset. And he's saying that he might want a bump in the future. So he's already talking smack that he doesn't have a good enough deal because all these other guys get paid. So Chicago Bears cornerback Jalen Johnson. Now this is a Bears article, right? It's written by, Sports Illustrated, Chicago Bears version. That cornerback Jalen Johnson has taken no after the contract given to Sauce Gardner and others at his position since receiving his own extension in March of 2024. Now, if what Johnson says is true, and he wasn't just kidding, he could be looking to get a hold of GM Ryan Poles to pursue a bump up in his pay in the future. Now, this is where it gets a little bit more interesting because, one, he's got a 4-year, $76 million deal, as it states right here, which is now 12th to 13th for best cornerbacks, depending on, whatever metric you're using. Gardner's 4-year, $120.4 million deal is now the new number for corners, which scares the hell out of me for Terry and Arnold. But here's where it gets interesting. He was speaking to a Bears fan and wrestler, Seth Rollins, who was the fill-in for Rich Eisen. And Johnson promised fun future discussions with Ryan Poles. Promised. Right? Here's his quote. Really? Just seeing a lot of other corners getting paid. I almost feel like we might have another discussion coming up here soon. What does that mean? We might have another discussion coming up here soon. Goes on to say the market is moving. The market is moving. Then he goes on to say, and so I mean, as long as I keep being myself, keep playing at a high level, there definitely is going to have to be some more conversations coming up soon to really keep it long term. I'm looking forward to that, but definitely happy for what's going on right now in the NFL and the corner world. So, I'm looking forward to this season and continuing to prove myself, and that's what it's about. Really is putting good tape out there. This whole offseason has been geared toward that. But now he's on NFI all of a sudden. The question is he now wanting a bigger deal before he opens himself up to training camp? Does Ben Johnson have a little problem on his hands with Jalen Johnson? I wouldn't mind that. James says, if you're playing in the NFL, you're making plenty of money. They need to stop it. Yeah. Look, I'm not so happy, or I'm not so mad at the fact that I love it when my OneDrive pops up with sidebar. My OneDrive pops up. It says, look at your memories from July 21 of last year. And it's me and my kids on a boat from 2 years ago. That was the day my son Christian crashed my brand new boat into a sidebar. Still love you, bud. Crap happens. To the tune of $3,000. It happens. I sold the boat. And yes, I disclosed it. I sold the boat. So anyway, the issue here at hand for the Chicago Bears. They're also taking notice of the Detroit Lions issues, but the Bears have their own issues. Jalen Johnson's potentially, going to hold out. If he's on NFI all of a sudden, he's got a non-football injury. We don't know what it is, right? We don't know what it is. The Packers, they're as happy as pigs in mud right now that Levi Onwuzurike is out and Ali McNeil and Mekhi Wingo and others are also out, so they don't have to deal with them. Alex Anzalone is also out, apparently with a hamstring injury. So kind of odd. Last part of our NFC North report today. We're going to head over to the land of Skull and Justin Jefferson. Man, this kid is just whining left and right about playoff seeding. So he also believes that Dan Campbell, Brad Holmes, the Detroit Lions, bringing this playoff seeding change to light, which didn't pass this year, is something that actually needs to happen. So Justin Jefferson also believes in this. So I found this message interesting, but I'm going to bring in a quote by him. He acknowledged that his team had a chance last year for home field advantage that they didn't get, and thinks that the NFL should take a look at how the last season played out and consider changes to the current playoff format. Here's what he said. He said, quote, with the season that we had last year to go and play away, it definitely was a little different. It definitely needs to go into consideration and something that we need to figure out, because having 14 wins normally doesn't go to play away in the playoffs. We definitely had the opportunity to play home field with the last game in Detroit, but even losing that, we still felt like we should have had home field advantage. But even not having home field advantage is never an excuse. It's something that we had to deal with, and we wish we would have had home field, but It is what it is, end quote. So he made some good points. Entering the playoffs last season, the Vikings had a 14-3 record, while the Los Angeles Rams were 10-7, and the Vikings should have had home field advantage, but they didn't. So he's whining about the situation. What did we hear Dan Campbell say to enter the year, right? To enter training camp. What did he say? He said, we just want to get in the dance. And you heard me say that over the weekend that I don't agree with that. Now, the dance is a March Madness term, all right, just to get into the dance. A lot can happen in March Madness, and we've seen it happen. In the NFL, it's not the same. Now, I mentioned it also over the weekend that first round, or first, second, third, and fourth seeds obviously win the most Super Bowls. And I put all that together for you guys last week. I want to say it was a first seed was 54% of the time. A second seed was maybe 27% of the time. I think a fourth seed was like 14% of the time. And fifth through seventh seeds were like less than 4% of the time. So obviously for the Lions to be a 1, 2, or 4 seed, you have your best opportunity to win a Super Bowl. So when Dan says, just get in the dance and it is what it is, well, I would say no to that. I would say we need to be the number 1 seed as much as possible, right? I mean, that's your best chance. You've got home field advantage for the entire thing. But according to Justin Jefferson, we just need to change everything up, which the Lions, they propose this change. And I would say that I agree that it does make sense that if you have the 2 best records in the league and one is home and one is away, that doesn't make sense. All right? It doesn't make sense. But Dan Campbell said this, we just need to get in the dance. But he also said, if we have to go away, it is what it is. You still got to play the game. And I'll remind Justin Jefferson of this. Whether you are home or away, the Lions still kicked your ass. It doesn't matter. Right? And what we did in that week 18 game, it's going to happen again this year. So it doesn't matter. Home or away in the NFC North, good luck up against the Detroit Lions. So that's your NFC North report. Looks like we've got about 120 people in this morning. Welcome into the Rockdown Detroit Lions Rise and Grind Morning Show. Please do us a quick favor and like and subscribe when you enter. All of the new subscribers will get a chance to win training camp jackets. We've got some signed mini helmets. And then we also do raffles all throughout the season. We've got currently, I think, 4 raffles going. We kind of just give you guys a picture of what that looks like. So if you head to buymeacoffee.com/Rockdon, that's ROCKEDON, and head over to the shop. Okay, I'll give you a glimpse of what the shop looks like. Everything we do here is to support others. My goal as a cancer survivor and a cancer warrior when I started this channel, one was to share all of my experiences as a Detroit Lions loyal member for 27 years. Thankful to my father, who's continued the trend now for more than 60 years in our family. So to bring you all the stories and the history and my knowledge of the game and my thoughts about the team, more of a positive light. Do I agree with everything? No. But I'm not going to sit here and like pound my chest about everything, right? Like we got a lot of really great stuff happening with this team, and especially the city. I mean, the city's been through it, and the city deserves it all. So I'm trying to be that voice, right? Of we're doing some things right. Let's be happy about it. I know we still want that Super Bowl, like I said today. Like this is it. This is it for us. But this Rockdown Cancer Foundation has a bigger meaning, and a lot of my story is in there. So if you want to get to know a little bit about me and the goal of Rockdown Cancer Foundation, a lot of it is in here. Those of you that have known me by now, you know my story. Both Megan and I battling cancer 9 months apart, breast cancer for her, thyroid cancer for me. And looking at the financial impact that put us both through and put our family through, not a lot of people can make it through that. We thankfully were able to make that, make it through, but there's a lot of families out there that can't. And that's where we want to be a voice of change and try to help somebody that is, a cancer warrior and on their way to be a cancer survivor. And so whether it's them or their family. So far we got about $5,754 raised this year of the $50,000 goal that resets every June. That number is not 100% correct. That's everything that has come in through Buy Me a Coffee. That is not the full number because we do things behind the scenes, that is not through this. So if you go to the shop up here in the top right, this is where you're going to see the raffles that we're doing. So we've got Terry and Arnold jersey, Jahmyr Gibbs, Aiden Hutchinson. I also do a special Rockdown number 11. Number 11 is my number. So I do a special Rockdown jersey. You can do or enter the raffle for that. You can also buy one for $229. So the $30 that we make from that goes right to the Rockdown Cancer Foundation. You could also support the Rockdown Cancer Foundation on the bottom here, lower right, $25 donation. And then we've got a custom Lions hat that we put together for $40. This is a wonderful hat. Like, it fits so good. It's adjustable with a leather strap in the back and that clasp. It's really good stuff. High quality. High quality. So that's a good way you can support the channel. You can also support cancer survivors and warriors. And that's what we're all about. So appreciate you guys, everybody that has donated, everyone that's become a member. All of that goes to benefit good people, right? And everything stays local, by the way. So every channel that we have, whether it's Rockdown Bears or Rockdown Packers or whatever, the foundation will stay in that city. So the goal is to raise money locally to stay in the city, or to stay in the state at least, but to try to benefit someone that is connected with the team, and sometimes that's not always possible. But tonight we will be doing our first giveaway for all the new subscribers, training camp jacket, and tickets. So we've got some training camp tickets. If there is a family that you know of that deserves an opportunity to go to training camp, they just couldn't get tickets, email me at mailbag@rockdown.com. We like to make it possible for them. What else do we have on the list today? Okay, so I wanted to do some media day review, but before I do that, let's take a look at the Detroit Lions know exactly what this season means and talking about this year of reckoning. So what the thumbnail is about today is that this is a year of reckoning according to a couple of the players, right? This is kind of what they mentioned. This is by Sean Windsor of the Detroit Free Press. He says the Detroit Lions training camp began training camp with a couple of scars on their football soles. Interesting writing there. Says with some calluses on their hands. No wonder they sound so matter of fact on the first day of training camp on Sunday, July 20, which is what we're going to dig into today. At least their coach did, especially when he was talking about the goals for the season and expectations for the Lions playoffs, or expectations for the playoffs. Maybe they'll have to go on the road, Dan Campbell imagined. Not that he and the Lions wouldn't love to have the best record in the NFC again. It's a good picture of Dan. I love these hats, but I couldn't find any fitted hats that I like, and I only like fitted hats. So it kind of sucks for me this year. He says, but then last year ended at Ford Field in a divisional round, despite the home field advantage. Turns out a 15-2 record didn't mean too much. It was a nice number, shiny, even. This guy writes different. But anyway, he says, but necessary? Absolutely not. He says if the Lions didn't know that before last season, they do know now, and you could hear the lesson in Campbell's voice on Sunday morning in Allen Park minutes before he took the field to begin his 5th season as head coach. It felt a little different this time. It sounded a little different too. Not so much in enthusiasm or goals, but in tone. Campbell has been at this spot 2 times now. Been at the beginning, this is what's critical, been at the beginning of a season with a locker room capable of winning a Super Bowl. We'll stop there for a moment. Lions fans, tell me, when's the last time before last year that you woke up on a Monday morning and said, damn it, we have a team that can win a Super Bowl? Can you believe this? The Lions actually have a team to go all the way. You haven't had that opportunity to wake up in the morning and say that ever in the last 2 seasons. Now, there was some seasons, 2014 was an example. Really good football team, really good defense. 11 seasons ago. But now, for the first time ever, with a brand new head coach and a brand new, general manager and an owner, in Sheila Ford Hamp, who's, fairly young at her job, but been around the team forever, have totally changed the dynamic of what it is to be a Detroit Lions fan. And so it troubles me that when I see all the negativity out there. Why? Like, we've never had this opportunity. Some teams, the Packers, right? They haven't won a Super Bowl since when? When was that? 2001? When was the Packers' last Super Bowl? I'm going to have to look that one up. It's been a minute. (2011), excuse me. And so Aaron Rodgers won one Super Bowl while he was with that team. One. And they had a lot of really good teams, right? And they won one. If you don't think that their expectation after winning one was, we should be winning one every year, of course it was. But prior to that, they went through the ebbs and flows of what it's like to be an NFL franchise. We are way overdue. And I understand that. We are way overdue to go to a Super Bowl. 1997 was the previous one where they beat the Patriots. 1968 and then 1967. So they've won 4 Super Bowls. Aaron Rodgers won 1. And he was with the Packers for what? 14 seasons or so? I don't remember. It was a long time. So to be able to wake up on a Monday morning and say, man, we can make it. 2 years ago, like the article says, the Lions hadn't proven it. We were kicked out of the NFC Championship game because of Aaron Glenn's stubbornness, in my opinion. We got within 3 points. Matter of fact, we were up by 17. We should have never been within 3 points. A 20-point swing is not what should have happened in that game. But again, that was our first taste of halftime. I'm in Santa Clara. I'm on the front row of section 200. I'm in the corner end zone. And I'm looking at buying Super Bowl tickets and going to Vegas, wherever. I think we were going to Vegas that year. And within 10 minutes, it was like, yep, something's not right. I don't think it's going to happen. And then it continued that the Lions were going to lose that game. And those are the things that haven't happened to this team. Squandering giant leads has not really happened to this team since Dan Campbell has turned this team around, which was midway through the 2022 season. That is just not in our DNA anymore. That is what our DNA was for the last 60 years. Squandering giant leads and amazing players like Calvin Johnson, Matthew Stafford, Barry Sanders, and others. We squandered their careers because we could never just get over that last hurdle. Hell, they couldn't even get over the first hurdle and just make it to the playoffs every year. So I guess, reading through this article, talking about, last year they were among the favorites, and if injuries, well, never mind. And that's where I'm at too. Never mind. I'm not even talking about it anymore. Right? Nothing can be done about that. And that's the point, right? As the article says, or the lesson. You never know what will happen, so don't worry about the best record or home field advantage. Just find a way to get better as the season goes on and get into the postseason and take a shot. I get this. I will never agree with this. To get into the postseason and take a shot. If you're below the 4th seed, it's going to be an extremely rare season for us to win a Super Bowl. So Campbell said on Sunday, quote, "You understand what that road looks like, and there's going to be nothing easy about it. But I think it's every year you do this and you just realize, hey man, just get in, win the division. That's always going to be the goal. Find a way to win your division because now you're automatically in. And then once you're in, it's the matchup. Okay. Maybe we have to go on the road. So be it." I love the attitude. 1,000%. I love it. I'm just a little bit worried about, I guess, the sentiment of just kind of get in. I think the Lions need to play their best football all season. I got a question for you on this Jared Goff image. Do you see this down here? Has Jared got a baby bump? Has he been eating too many bonbons and ice creams with Kristen? Am I seeing things? Jared, you got a dad bod going on already. Like, we got to nip that in the bud, buddy. I'm just kidding. I think Jared's going to be fine. Kind of an awkward pose, isn't it? He's kind of looking at Morton like, huh? Like, what? What's going on here? So there it is. So be it. The words of a coach with some calluses. The words of a coach who understands now more than ever that the end goal is really the only goal. And the path there can take many routes. Just get in. You take your best unit. You put your best practice that you can together. You find the guys that you're going to use to try to go win that game and then let it ride. Dan Campbell. Now, Dan said that he was, or promised he was, as enthusiastic as ever, but Dan looks different this year. He looks like he is on a mission, right? He is not taking any BS. He's not trying to laugh. He just wants to go through it, and he wants to get his guys ready for battle. That's what I see for Dan Campbell this year. And you could kind of tell this morning going through the press conference, he looked pissed. He looked irritated. And that maybe that is more so that he's just ready to go. He just wants to put out all these fires and he wants to go. So he said, I know these guys are, well, I'll stop that right there. He says, there's a price to be paid to get yourself back in the dance, back into the tournament. And that will never change. And if we let that slide at all, then we are going to be sitting here at home in January. And that's not what we want. You're damn right that's not what we want. But running back David Montgomery called the upcoming season a year of reckoning. And this is where we'll finish today. He said, everybody's tired of being close. It's cool to be close at first, but you don't want to get comfortable with being close all the time. That's not what you want to be known for, especially when you know that you've got the guys you've got on this team. You want to finish it. So this year for us, the year of the reckoning and the year that we choose that we need to finish. Let me repeat that. The year of the reckoning and the year that we choose that we need to finish. So I wonder if this is chose. I'll have to go back and listen if this is supposed to be chose or choose, but I think that David Montgomery's kind of hit the nail on the head here. That this is the time. This is the team. And the Lions need to they need to go out and get it, man. They need to finish. This is the year to finish. You have the team. Trickster says, hopefully with our new OC, we will come out after halftime and start putting points on the board in the third quarter. Dude, you are preaching to the choir, man. That is gospel to my ears. Our third quarter was terrible in just about every game over the last couple of seasons. We had a couple of decent games in the third quarter, but man, not enough. Bobby May says, it didn't help that the Packers had 30 years of Hall of Fame quarterback play. Ain't that the truth, man? It hurt the whole division. It did. But you know what? It's our time. It's our time. Jared Goff has proven himself enough that he can win in this city. And I will ask you guys that too. Throw it in the comments later. Is this the year that we have to win because Jared Goff's contract more than doubles next year? 69 point something is what Jared is going to get paid next year. He's making around 32, 33 this year, which he's been making for the last several years. He's been one of the least expensive quarterbacks with the most production in NFL history. Let that sink in. Jared Goff has been making, on average, $30 million for the last 4 seasons. And he's been one of the most productive quarterbacks in NFL history. He's done enough. It's the rest of the team now that needs to pull their part, right? They need to pull their weight, do their part. Jay-Z says depth is key to going far, and Brad and Dan have built good depth and competition on the roster. again, great statement. Like, our depth last year is what brought us to where it brought us. It didn't help in the final game of the year because, we didn't have matchups. To Dan's point, we didn't have any matchups, right? We got a third stringer on a first stringer. We got a fourth stringer on a first stringer. That was all up and down the defense. It was not good. We had Kirby Joseph coming down playing the nickel, for God's sakes. Kirby was down playing corner instead of back at safety. Who do we have back at safety? Was it Lawrence Strickland? I think it was in the Commanders game. So coming up this week, we're going to be doing our preview, and we're going to start previewing every week of the NFL season. And I'm trying to work out one other thing to be able to do something. I guess I did get a notice about the Lions this morning. For some reason, I just didn't see it. Anyway, we're going to be starting the previews this week. The goal is to record them, drop them, and then talk about them the next day. So we'll see how that goes. I might be doing a lot of them by myself. Riley and I have been working on it to get these previews done, but it's a big project. So the goal is to drop them every single day and get through the whole season during training camp. It's going to be tough. So we'll see if we get it done. It might have to come in spurts, but the goal is to kind of go through the whole preview. Talking about countdowns, the latest countdown, 10 days, 10 hours, 4 minutes, 26 seconds. And if you haven't learned by now, Pro Sports Zone is the place to get your stuff, man. To get all of your Detroit Lions gear. Michigan Panthers, Pistons, Red Wings, Tigers, you name it. Pro Sports Zone, man, wall-to-wall sports merchandise. The newest designs always in stock. You got to visit John Yu and mention Rockhound. Get yourself a discount at the lowest prices already. He's going to help you out with a little bit more. Only the best service at Pro Sports Zone. You guys need to visit 37700 6 Mile Road, Livonia, Michigan. They're open 10 a.m. to, I believe, 8 p.m. daily. They are open on weekends. And like I've said before, man, Pro Sports Zone, the official countdown clock sponsor of the season. Make sure you guys get in there. Pro Sports Zone, man. John, you love you, bud. Great stuff. Great stuff at Pro Sports Zone. They also have a college store right across the hall, a couple doors down. Just as much stuff. U of M, MSU, Grand Valley, you name it. It's all in there at Pro Sports Zone. Good stuff. I got to get in there soon. Okay, last thing I'll show you guys for the day, in case you're looking for some new threads. Something to wear this season, or just to wear whenever. So Warrior Thread was built to help cancer survivors and cancer warriors. Now we're putting up all sorts of different stuff. Right now we got Packers Suck t-shirts, the Detroit Fight Club, right? Detroit Lions are always fighting their way out of something. Those are the hottest ones that just released. We should have some Rise and Grind and Rockdown Detroit Lions stuff coming at you. My Savage brand is very simple, man. This is Team Rock. This is all Cancer Warrior stuff. You need to be a savage if you're going to be a warrior, right? And being a cancer warrior, cancer survivor means you're a savage because you're fighting your hearts out. So lots of stuff. Visit warriorthread.com. Warriorthread.com. It'll bring you right into the store. And I did notice, Brandy, to your point today, I don't see my 25% off that runs all the time. I mean, our prices are pretty low anyway. But I will get that done today. I will give them a call and tell them we need to get a discount going for all of the listeners of the Rise and Grind Morning Show. So more than likely it'll be code rocked on, but let me get it done today and I'll let you guys know. Just look at the posts on YouTube, the post section. I'll put it in there. I'll put it on Facebook. I'll put it on wherever, all the socials. And then tomorrow morning we'll let you know what it is too. So all proceeds obviously go to help out the Rockdown Cancer Foundation, and you get to wear a pretty cool t-shirt. 30-day money back guarantee. If you don't like it, if it doesn't look right, especially if it doesn't look right, like I'm very particular. So if my design is not put in the right area on the shirt and they screwed it up, one, take a picture and email it to me and I'll make sure it gets fixed. But more importantly, send that damn thing back and they'll send you a new one for free. If they have you, I don't know if they make you pay for any shipping charges. I can't remember. But we'll get that taken care of for you too. So anyway, I appreciate you guys. Look, it's been a long 2 hours this morning. We got a lot more to cover, and I'm going to get in this seat and we're going to get some more stuff covered for you today. Be a few more videos popping out, and then I need your help on the vote. So I'm going to put a couple of thumbnails on the YouTube side, and then at Will Rock Jr. is my Twitter. I just need you guys to help me, create a consistent thumbnail that we're going to keep from here on out. And we're going to do it for multiple channels, but I need your help just to vote. Tell me yes or no, because I assume it helps you find, the channel that you want to watch that day. So, all right, questions, comments before we go. Yeah, so Pro Sports Zone doesn't have an online store. I asked John about that, and I guess that there's something that needed to be done that is very expensive to do, I guess, with the NFL is the best I could understand. Like you have to have a special license or something to sell online, and other stores did it a long time ago. So they're kind of grandfathered in, and that's why they didn't have an online store. Otherwise I was telling like, dude, I'm more than willing to help you do it. You know what I mean? Not that you need my help, but hell, I'm just learning how to do this stuff, and it's hard, but at the same time, it's not that hard. So let's see. Bob W says you're in Indianapolis, or Maureen says I'm in Indianapolis. I wish they did. If there's something that you want that you can't find, in Brandy Coffee, just so you know, the domain for the store is just Warrior Thread. www.warriorthread.com. The My Spread Shop stuff will get you there, but it's just a domain now. In the beginning, they give you that silly long domain, but ain't nobody gonna remember that. I'm gonna reach out to John. We're gonna get a podcast set up at the store. Bobby May, I wish I could, buddy. I mean, there's things that I got to do that, or can and can't do that, that stuff requires documentation. And if I were to lose it all, then I'd be in big trouble with you guys, So anyway, if, August 2, it sounds like a lot of people want to hit Pro Sports Zone. So I'm going to reach out to John today and try to do a podcast on August 2nd, which will mean we'll have a pre-opening to the store. So you guys will get like an hour to shop with a discount. And let me get that handled today. And then I'll put that out too. So you guys take care. If there's anything that you're looking for, if there's a jersey, if there's a shirt, if there's something that you're looking for that you can't find anywhere, if you can't find it online, but you have a picture of it, and you send it to me and you say, hey, can you help me find this? More than likely I can, you can zip it to John, or I can zip it to John and see if he has that specific art, item in stock, or if he knows somewhere to get it. He's helped me out with a couple of things. So, all right, you guys take care, man. Go on Pride, go Detroit Lions. We'll catch you guys in the next one tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Take care.
The podcast. Shout out to Rockhound Detroit Lions, man. One pride.